Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Planet Tyro for our Woody Allen coverage. You're back here with me, your host Donald Wonder, and I'm joined again with my co-host through this venture, Simon or Simeon Rad.
Thank you very much, and I'd like to welcome everybody back. For those of you who are reoccurring listeners, I feel like this is the beginning of a beautiful friendship.
Haha, I see what you did there. Guys, if you missed our previous video, last time we actually covered Woody Allen's Banana Republic revolutionary satire comedy 1971's Bananas. If you're on YouTube, you can see the YouTube card in the top right hand corner to go back to that discussion. For all you non-YouTubers, I just want to let you know that all of our previous, current and future talks on Woody Allen will be in the description below. We've got a Woody Allen playlist, and also, well, non-YouTubers, I did mean to say that you can get this as an audio podcast on Apple's iOS podcast app. Android have got so many apps like podcasts. But I do want to say, we've heard some of your feedback and we are now officially on Stitcher Radio. Yes, Stitcher Radio, guys. One of the most official, popular podcast apps, both on Android, iOS, and I believe on Microsoft as well. Stitcher Radio loves what we do and they've put us on their system, so grab the Stitcher Radio app and you can listen to us there. And as usual, guys, we want to give our general warning. We would prefer if you watch the movie in question that we're discussing before you check out these discussions, because we want you to have that first time Woody Allen experience, then come back and listen to our discussions, because we get into spoilers, we talk about all the plots and stuff like that, and we don't want to ruin your experiences. But for those of you who've already seen the movie or you don't care, you're in the right place. We're about to get into it, and we're ready for our next discussion. So on that note, Simon, if you don't mind giving us the title, the year, and the details of this movie we're covering right now.
We're not going to get super spoilers, but it is an in-depth summary. So we're looking at Play It Again, Sam, which is based on the play by the same name. The movie came out in 1972. The play and both the screenplay was written by Woody Allen. It's one of his more successful plays early on. It definitely made him bigger and helped him get cast in the movie to play the same character. He stated that he didn't want to do an adaptation of the play because he wrote it as a play, but he thought the movie was a good idea to expand his audience from his own personal films, like the ones he directed. Diane Keaton, who also stars in the play, is also in the movie. So it worked out well. I think it was just a solid production. In terms of story, once again, Woody Allen's character is close to home. The character is called Alan. He's down on his luck, lonely New Yorker character, even though the movie's set in San Francisco. This is once again a tale of love. It's written originally as a play, so it's a very intimate story. It's just centered around three characters. Woody Allen being the lonely guy who's going through a divorce, and the other two characters played by Diane Keaton and Tony Roberts are his best friends, who are a married couple trying to help him out, hook him up. Mm-hmm. And what makes the movie slightly more unique or creative is that Alan, as in Woody Allen, whose character's name is Alan, is a film writer. He writes about film. He's a big film enthusiast. He's a huge fan of Bogart. So actually, he has sort of an imaginary friend modeled after Bogart. He imagines Bogart giving him relationship advice or advice about life. Hence the title of the film, Play Against Sam, which is reference to Casablanca.
That is right, Simon. So, boy, let me tell you something. Well, first of all, let me get this out of the way. Now, I know a lot of you guys actually asked, are we going to cover this movie? Because, as Simon mentioned, this movie wasn't actually directed by Woody Allen, so people thought this isn't officially part of the retrospective. For the record, guys, we're going to cover a lot of movies Woody Allen didn't direct, but had a major part in. I'll even tell you now, if you know that animated movie called Ants, we're going to cover that somewhere down the line. So, guys, this is going to be a fanboy. I'm a Woody Allen fanboy. We're going to cover so much things he's touched. It's going to be relevant to the conversation. So,
oh yeah, and you know, it goes without saying, Playing Against Sam was a huge hit in theaters, and it was a play written by Woody Allen, starring Woody Allen and Diane Keaton. So it contributed to his career and contributed to their two relationships on a professional level and on a personal level. His character is even called Alan. This movie is Woody Allen through and through.
Well, let me touch on that a little bit, and let me just go back on one of the few things you said, because again, there's a lot of interviews. When you go back and you look in the history of all these movies, there's some conflicting parts of how this was made, this and the other. One thing he did say about this movie in particular is that the main reason he didn't want to direct this movie is because he likes doing a movie a year, as everybody knows. And once he did the play, he just wanted to move on. He actually didn't want to make it to the movie. He wanted to move on. And the concept of him going back to something he's done as a play for years, because I think he did the play, he wrote the play in like late 1960s, and it was out, I think, in the early 70s. And by this time, 3 years he'd been doing the play. Why would he want to make a movie of it? He was sick of it, so he handed the reins to someone else. But because Woody Allen, as an actor and as a Hollywood icon, he was, well, not an icon, but as a Hollywood presence, he was becoming more pronounced. It made more, even though he didn't want to be the main lead, he was being known as his name. His name was selling tickets, so he put himself in. He did the play. It made more sense, and that's fine. Now, Simon.
Yeah, talk to me.
This movie is special to me for so many reasons. But
you don't even have to say that, because watching this movie is about you. Like, you always talk about with the previous films how, I would say that, or that line reminded you of me. This whole movie reminded me of you. Like and I know for a fact you did the exact same thing that Woody Allen does in this movie. So don't even try to front.
All right, to a point, Simon is correct. This movie rings a bit home to me because I was in a similar romantic situation, a bit of a complicated one. So I appreciated that. But putting that aside, let's getting back to the movie for a second. This movie, for the longest time, was in my top 5 Woody Allen movies. Now, after rewatching it, ironically, that is no longer the case. and that is because when you watch this movie, I kind of rewrote this movie in my memory.
You didn't you meant to say you rewrote it in your diary? I think that's why you got it confused. You were actually reading your diary.
I could take offense to what Simon's doing, but when Simon hears everything I got to say, I think he'll be a bit more. I know you're trying to take the piss out of me, Simon. Look, let me tell you something about. All right, you know what? Let me talk about Woody Allen's character in this movie just for a minute. Now, this movie, we spoke about his other movies before. This movie can be annoying for one particular reason. This is the quintessential Woody Allen, super nerdy, super neurotic, super annoying character that he is known for. He's done a little bit of this in these movies, but this is 100% to the wall, crazy Woody Allen that you either love it and you're used to it, and this is the Woody Allen and the stereotypes Woody Allen, or he's so annoying he bugs the hell out of you. And I will say, in Woody Allen's defense, as a person, Woody Allen has said in many interviews, he always finds it funny that people actually think he's really like that, because there's no one on this earth that could be this neurotic. When you're watching this movie, he is jittering like crazy. He is rambling. And if you take a step back and you look at Woody Allen as an actor and you see that it's a performance, that he's actually playing this super neurotic, super nervous, super crazy person, I'm like, you know what? Wow, man, to do that as a performance, because I will admit that he even said this is a version of himself, but this is an extreme. And he does play this character in a lot of the movies we're going to see before. But observing this movie for the upteenth time, I can see this is a performance. Like, no one on earth could be this crazy. And I think it's an awesome character. I'm observing it as a character. I think, as a comedy character, this is really funny. As a character, if you're actually taking this as a real person, annoying as fuck. This guy would annoy the hell out of you. How can you feel sorry for someone? I mean, there's so many scenes in this movie where these Diane Keaton and her husband in the movie are trying to hook him up, and he's, what am I going to do? What's he going to say? There's a scene where Diane Keaton's on the phone trying to hook him up, and he's like, I don't want to hear this. He's screaming on the phone. Who does that?
You. That's who. You. I have the same conversations with you. That's who.
Simon, you're talking mad crap. I never do anything like that.
No. Because he does that because he's making an assumption based on his previous experiences of the type of women that are drawn to him. And when I think of how you're always looking for a particular type of girl and you end up with somebody completely different that's not a good match, that doesn't appreciate your personal tastes, that wants to do the exact opposite that you want to do, while you just want to watch a movie, read a good book, and stay at home and have intellectual talk, and she just like wants to go out and dance and all that. You're the same. You're just like, I don't want her.
I'm picky, and I will agree that I think this is another thing about Woody Allen. Let me kind of shift because I don't want to derail this too much. One of the things about this movie, and one of the reasons why I don't like this movie as much as I used to, this is a movie that, let's just say that this movie became a subgenre. The nerdy character trying to find love and his friends are trying to help him. This was basically, if we go to the 80s to the 2000s, this is basically the high school nerd comedy, rom-com we've seen a million times. There's two movies in particular that I will use as a good example of this, but I will just say we've seen movies that take an idea like this, a simple idea of a guy who just wants to find love or a guy who can't meet the right girl. This was done to death. It still was done to death on so many stupid college, high school dramas and all that. Woody Allen kind of did it first. Even Woody Allen just does it to death. He reuses his character again and again and again. But again, I know why you was making that comparison to me, but I just feel this character, there's no one, especially in his more exaggerating elements, there's no one that is to this extent. And as a character, I appreciated that, and I like the fact that Woody Allen's putting out that performance. But I'm not gonna lie, it can get annoying, and that's just focusing on Woody Allen because we're gonna talk about all the other stuff. But I just wanted to get the Woody Allen character out of the way because he's unrealistic, he's neurotic. I found it funny, to be honest with you, but I also found it annoying. I don't know how you felt about it.
Well, after being, Captain Wingman for most of my friends, maybe I'm just, too much in training. I just got used to it. Yeah. Used to dealing with people like that. So for me, it was all right. Like, I know, because here's the thing. I know what you're saying, that the character isn't extreme. But then again, we talked about this before, and it's a common theme with Woody Allen. Contrast. His humor depends on contrast. So with his imaginary friend appearing in the movie in the form of a version, an on-screen version of Bogart, the typical old school Hollywood leading man, firm and tough and straight to the point, a heart of ice, nothing can face him, versus, this neurotic, romantic, hopeless romantic character who's always so shy and just nothing works out with him, doesn't know how to approach women, he's always second guessing himself, versus the, overconfident Bogart. That's the point of the comedy. So it kind of needs to be like that. It needs to be black and white.
Well, if we, going off a point you just mentioned there, which I think is a really great point. If we go back in the early 70s when this movie came out, a lot of the movies out had strong alpha leading males as in your film noirs or your action movies. So Woody Allen actually putting this out at the time, it was different. It probably was funny, and I think it appealed to the masses on the comedy level. Maybe some people could relate. I don't really think so, but maybe I'm just speaking for myself. But I actually think this might have been a breath of fresh air in cinema at the time it came out, which is another reason why the play might have been a big hit.
I think it definitely comes off as very honest. I think it, because at certain points in our lives, we are all this character to some extent. Maybe not as neurotic, but when you're going through a breakup, when you're lonely, or when all your friends are in a relationship and you're that third wheel, you can act like this. And even the movie kind of hinted that towards the end, where things start to shift. Yeah. That the roles are almost reversed. Suddenly, a person who hasn't behaving that way and was giving advice throughout the whole film now finds himself in a similar situation and starts acting similarly immediately, Yeah. So I think that kind of personal honesty helps sell the story a lot more. I mean, don't quote me on it, but I'm pretty sure he wrote this during the time he was trapped on the set of Casino Royale.
You're right. He did write in. That's correct. He did write in the late 60s, around that time. You're correct. I double checked.
Yeah. So this is the lemonade he made out of those lemons back in the day, in the early days. But to be honest with you, the big question on everybody's mind is that Herbert Ross directed the film. So how does that work? It's not directed by Woody Allen. What kind of effect does it have on the film? And for me personally, it was very refreshing, because early Woody Allen is still trying to figure out his identity as a filmmaker, what he's trying to do. He defaults to all these, skits and all this random comedy just to push extremes, push buttons, get a reaction out of the audience, see how far he can go. With a more seasoned director doing this piece, the movie's a lot more focused and a lot more concentrated. So all the high comedy elements, when they go silly with the jokes, are scattered out throughout the movie a little bit better. So it helps with the pacing It helps with more focus on the story. Put a good comparison, think of a director who has a very strong hand signature where you can immediately tell if he directed a movie and is also a writer. Like, let's say Quentin Tarantino.
Yeah.
It's like a Quentin Tarantino script directed by someone else who did a good job, sort of like True Romance. And I'm not just saying because True Romance actually borrows a lot from this movie, but it really feels like, okay, here's the good stuff about that director's writing style, but also you don't have to put up with their quirks for this particular story. It worked out well. It made it its own unique thing, but containing a lot of the elements you like about that person's other work. So again, here you don't have that many random jokes and random skits, but you still have typical Woody Allen character, story structure, dialogue that's classic, and a lot of good humor, as well as outlandish jokes, also some subtle jokes and some clever dialogue. So I think it just works out well. The cinematography is nice, all that stuff. It's a competently made film. It even has a sweet ending. It's the full package.
You know what, Simon? I'm gonna bring this full circle because you're hitting the points. First of all, I agree with everything you said there anyway. But since I spoke about Allen, I'm gonna bring up Diane Keaton and her husband in the movie, which I can't remember his name right now.
Tony Roberts. And how can you not remember? The guy has an awesome name. His name is Dick. That's the best name ever. Yeah, it's like if your girl or wife is pregnant out there, Dick Masters is a perfect name. Just putting it out there, because not a lot of people are called Dick these days, and we need to bring that name back into circulation, in my opinion.
Well, actually, there is someone called Dick Masterson. He's a podcast personality that did a podcast with Maddox called The Best Podcast in the Universe. But anyway, that's besides the point.
Nah, that guy is just a dick. That's not his real name.
Let me tie this around for what you just said. So I want to move on to the chemistry between Diane Keaton and Woody Allen. Now, the chemistry between these two is absolutely great. But focusing on Diane Keaton for a moment, she's great in the movie. She starts out as... She's got that style that everyone talks about in Annie Hall.
Sure.
And
yeah.
As a companion, as the co-lead, the female lead, she's great. I mean, the way their relationship builds in this movie is charming, it's honest, and it's fun. It's comical as well. They got a few scenes here that I'm not going to bring up because of spoilers, even though we're kind of in that section anyway. But what I want to say, and I don't want to jump the gun here a little bit. When you mentioned the directing of the director who took over for Woody Allen because of Woody Allen's insistence or whatever,
Herbert Ross, yeah.
I was thinking to myself, I wonder what this movie would have been if Woody Allen directed it. And I'm going to jump the gun a little bit here and say, honestly, when I watch this movie from a writer-director, from a narrative perspective, and the chemistry between Woody Allen and Diane Keaton, I see this movie, honestly, as a beta test for Annie Hall. He drew upon a lot of things in this movie and infused it in Annie Hall. And this movie, to me, is like using the computer game reference. This movie, to me, if I'm going to compare it to Annie Hall, this is Super Mario Bros. 1. And Annie Hall is Super Mario Bros. 3.
I see what you mean. Yeah, it's also important to note that a lot of people know Diane Keaton from the Godfather films, but a lot of this, especially the play, happened before Godfather. So she wasn't the name she became after those films came out, Godfather Part 1 and Part 2. So, it was sort of it wasn't like a natural fit or a no-brainer to cast Diane Keaton in this. It was really up to finding the right person for the role.
And she's great, and that's why she becomes... I think Woody Allen calls her his first muse. Like, she was the first woman that he, got that connection with and repeatedly cast her again and again and again. And obviously they dated in real life for a while as well. And a lot of people wish they got together, but that never happened. But we'll talk about that in future movies when it's relevant. But talking about I still can't remember the other guy who's Dick. Let's call him Dick.
Yeah.
Diane Keaton's husband. He's fine. There's a running gag with him in this movie, always having to relocate. Always having to him to tell his office wherever he is, and a series of numbers is really funny because he plays it deadpan and it's so ridiculous. I'm now at 555-472-754. You can reach me here, and every scene he's been interrupted by the phone, and obviously it's a show that he's not paying attention to her, but It's one of the best jokes in the movie, the best running gags.
And it's one of the jokes that ages the best, because now when we have mobile phones, that's when you really realize how bad this guy needed it in 1972. I mean, if you can send something back in time, you would send this motherfucker at least a Nokia or something. I mean, I think an iPhone would be too much. His head would explode. He was like, "Oh my God, this is magic."
So what I want to move on to now is I want to get the big dog out of the way, the elephant in the room out of the way. My turn from loving this movie to not so much. To do that, I need to talk about the best element of this movie, and I think, first of all, this is a movie, again, like when we spoke about Take the Money and Run, where we spoke about Woody Allen doing something different with the mockumentary. This movie won me over back in the day with the opening scene. This is super meta. You're watching someone watch the ending to Casablanca and being totally enamored by the ending. And Casablanca, as everyone knows, is one of the most popular, successful, beloved movies of all time. Top 10 lists all over the world. So watching that moment is genuine. It's not just Woody Allen being a movie fanboy. This movie is adored because that ending is iconic. When I watch that ending, when you see Woody Allen, the opening shot is just the movie, then panning to Woody Allen in the cinema, having that look on his face on that ending, affecting him so much. And that drew me in. As a viewer, I remember watching that thinking, wow, man, this is going to be a movie about a guy who loves Casablanca, and he carries that with him through the movie, and he does. And I actually think it's a very meta idea for a play, for a movie. I think it's very clever. There's only, to this day, there's only a few movies that use the telling of a movie as a narrative for the rest of the movie, which, as a writer, I think it's a genius idea. Now, this is where my memory plays with me a little bit. Now, after watching the movie, after all these years, I thought to myself, or actually, let me say this, the best part of this movie that I enjoyed the most is Woody Allen and his Humphrey Bogart imaginary wingman. When he's there, Woody Allen, you gotta tell her that, you gotta talk like this, you gotta say this. Those moments are my favorite through the whole movie. But this is my problem with the movie. After rewatching it, those moments are few and far between. The Humphrey Bogart character is only sprinkled in a little bit at the beginning and in the last act. Through most of the movie, he's not there. And I actually, in my memory, I always remembered his character being there. As soon as he finished watching the movie, the way I remembered it was that he was always there through the whole movie, giving him advice, because that is an awesome movie. But that's not this movie. And on top of that, and I'm going to be very nitpicky here. When you're watching the movie, after Woody Allen leaves, the first scene, after he leaves the cinema, he starts talking to himself. Woody Allen, he starts narrating himself, and I'm like, is he talking to the Humphrey Bogart character? He's not. This is a thing, I think it's a mistake. And I thought, he's not looking at the screen, he's not talking to the audience either, he's just talking out loud. And I was watching, what's going on? But then I realized that this is a play, and if you're watching a play, that's what they do. They talk out loud their thoughts, and I don't know if it was the screenplay, it doesn't make sense. And I've watched this movie 4 times, so guys, if you're thinking...
Well, that's because you've never been to New York. You know, there are a ton of people walking around talking to themselves on the street. That's... I mean, I know it's set in San Francisco, but, you know...
No, I understand that, but if you watch the movie again, like I've a million times, it's a sore fun because he doesn't... The things he's saying... People talk to themselves... Come on, I talk to myself. Everyone talks to themselves, that's fine. But it's weird. It stands out. And then... there's moments where the Humphrey Bogart character is there and he's talking to him directly, but there's other times he's talking to himself. It's very inconsistent. And the reason why I don't love this movie as much is because it's a missed opportunity. I watched it the second time thinking, where's the Humphrey Bogart character? And he wasn't there through more than half the movie. And the scenes where he's there are the best parts. When Woody Allen's on his own, like we mentioned before, when he's there, his friends are trying to hook him up and he's just being neurotic. Those are the scenes where the Humphrey Bogart character be there like, calm down, you know, get a hold of yourself. And I thought, because he watched the movie, I thought that would have been a stronger pull for the movie, and that's how I remembered it. But watching it again, it stuck out to me because he's not in there enough for me. And it was just as disappointing because the last scene where, spoiler, when he's trying to court the Diane Keaton character and him and the Humphrey Bogart character going back and forth, that is the best part of the movie. That part is fucking hilarious. That exchange is fun. It's meta. And I was like, why couldn't the whole movie been this? Instead of watching Woody Allen being a mope, being a neurotic idiot, and his friends trying to, hook him up. Honestly, I was like, man, this is the movie I remember. I remember Humphrey Bogart being through the whole movie. And he's just in it less than half of it. So I think it was a kind of missed opportunity. But then again, what I will say in my defense is maybe as a play, it makes perfect sense and it works better. But to me, the movie was kind of boring for half of that part where it was just a traditional guy down on his luck looking for love. That was kind of boring to me until the Humphrey Bogart character was there helping him. That was awesome. That made the movie special. That was a Casablanca whole picture, the whole movie to me. And that's what I remembered. Rewatching it again, it was lacking. And this is someone who's watched it multiple times. So it's a fanboy criticism. I'm going to say that now. A lot of you guys listening are probably like, this guy's gone off his head. He's gone way too far. But I know I never told you this off mic, Simon, but you're probably surprised. That's my actual problem with the movie. The whole Casablanca pitch, the Humphrey Bogart character isn't there for most of the movie. And he's the best part of it, playing off Woody Allen. Just Woody Allen being neurotic makes the movie lackluster, especially, and that's what makes it not age well, as well as, I'll get into something else, but I just want to hear your thoughts on that first before I say something else.
I hear what you're saying. Like, some of the stuff is obvious, like the character talking to himself, and they try to make it look like it's everyday scenarios. He's going to the laundry, he's going to the convenience store, he's walking down the street, to make it seem more natural that he's basically narrating his life, because that's how it's written, that's how it plays out in a play where most of these scenes are centered around one location. So we're either in his apartment or his friend's apartment, the beach house, and then at the airport at the end. So, that's something that is quite obvious. It's not done, the most elegantly. It's only in the second half of the movie where they start inserting things that take advantage of the fact that this is a film, so they can visit multiple locations. They can do multiple things that they couldn't do with the play. The Bogart character not being in the movie enough. This was my first viewing. Okay, so for me, it was fine because every time he's on screen, the dialogue's great. The director, like you said, he pulls back. It's more subtle. There's not that much of the character in there to make it really gimmicky. Every time he shows up, they introduce him with very nice camera work. It's visually memorable. It's clever. And you're welcome to see him, but he goes away before it becomes gimmicky or before it becomes boring. I think that was kind of the mentality they had, that every time the Bogart character comes in, it has to be a really memorable exchange. He can't just become a staple in the film where it's like, of course he's in the background, He almost like takes over the scene when he's involved.
He does, yeah.
And there's only a few scenes where they really play with that. But I guess, again, because it's written like a play, you want to give the actors on stage something to do to not only express their individual characters, so everybody kind of has to have their scene and their little moment, but also, the challenge is when the Bogart character is involved with everybody else that only Woody Allen's character sees him, so they having an exchange between them, which is just with the imaginary friend, then he switches back to the real life dialogue. So that's how those scenes play out in terms of character dynamic, which is interesting to watch because the characters can never come out of their emotional state. So Diane Keaton is just there sipping a drink, while Woody Allen and Humphrey Bogart have a completely different exchange that's of a completely different tone.
I love those
and then
scenes.
And then when Ellen comes back to talking to her, she just has to continue like nothing happened.
Yeah.
So that's very interesting, but I think they wanted to savor all that, and that's from the play as well. They wanted to sprinkle it in here and there, really make those scenes stand out. It didn't bother me. Maybe, if I rewatch it a couple of times, I'm like, I wish I could have seen more of this character.
Yeah.
But for me, it was fine. Like I said, the movie's, it's nice little compact package. The fact that it's directed by somebody else just gives it a different tone, makes it stand out more in Woody Allen's catalog of work. The ending's very sweet, which I think is important because it's one of those crowd-pleasing movies where it depends on your sensitivity almost. Like, you need to really sympathize with his character and kind of admit to yourself, like, okay, no matter how confident I am in myself right now, we can all, we all have our downs and we can all at least appreciate what he's going through. So having, trying to match that romantic tone for something that's ultimately a romantic movie is appropriate, and the ending nails that. Outside of that, if you're turned down by that, you say, I like my experimental Woody Allen. I like when Woody Allen just throws stuff out there. There's some stuff in here that's quite innovative, not just the imaginary friend, but they also do a lot of cutaways where they just insert a random joke. And not only are those some of the funniest jokes in the film, but they're quite innovative. I mean,
that's why I brought up Annie Hall, because again, that's the Annie Hall element I think he used more in that movie, in that movie, which again is an element I think he gradually made even better.
Yeah, he beta tested here. But yeah, even up until today, Family Guy, his whole humor is built on a bunch of cutaways, and they do the same thing here. And so those are some of the funniest lines. So don't be turned off by the fact that it's a more straightforward narrative. There's plenty of creative ideas here. And
like I said, I do feel like Annie Hall, this is the beta test for Annie Hall. The Diane Keaton, Woody Allen, it's such a similar story. The romance, it's a similar story, but again, he just refined it. And look, I really do like this movie, and I do want to say, Simon, you put this in perspective. Let me just acknowledge what you said. You know what? In response to what you just said, you are probably right. If I did get more Humphrey Bogart, it might have been too much. He might have overtook the movie. This is why I like having a podcast where I'm bouncing off someone, because that might have ruined it. Again, it's just when you watch a movie that I actually love this movie. Again, as you said, Simon,
it's pretty good. I do feel I really enjoyed watching it the first time.
Yeah, it played close to my heart because I've been in this situation. It has an ending that is mature and that's fun. And to be honest with you, even though the thing I like about the ending the most is that Woody Allen tells you this is exactly what I wanted. I wanted to live Casablanca. I mean, he says at the end of the movie, this is what I wanted to do anyway. I wanted to be a hero. I wanted to be this guy. So it fulfills, it's honest, it's meta. It's a really cool movie that, again, it was in my top 5, but after rewatching it, just the Woody Allenisms, I don't know, man. It's not as great as it was before because, again, top 5 Woody Allen with the 50 movies. We've got a lot to go through, and there's a lot of great movies. So
I know.
I do take it out of my top 5, but it's a really good movie. And lastly, before we wrap things up, I do want to say that one thing I did say is that this is the quintessential Woody Allen, and a lot of movies took this loser looking for love formula. One movie in particular that reminds me of a more recent movie is a movie I think was made, 2007? I think it's called Youth in Revolt with Michael Cera.
Yes. If somebody with less talent would make an attempt at this, that's that movie. Although that movie's not that bad, but
I love that movie.
Compared to this,
I'm just saying, there's a similar movie, a character who wants to get a girl who's a really wimp. He's got an imaginary character to help him. There's so many. I mean, when I think of even The Mask is not a good example. A Mask is another down-to-earth character who becomes someone else.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, this has been done in cinema many a time.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean. I mean, you can definitely see with this movie, just like the previous ones, Woody Allen is influential. At the end of the day, he's very influential. You could see it throughout the years. Even if he takes ideas that have been done before, he just creates something that is constantly referenced, or you can see elements of it, taken and recreated in other films. I mean, and that's what makes the movie even better, because just the concept of something, it's flattering to Casablanca, but it's almost like a play on Casablanca. Yes. And nowadays, nobody does anything that's clever like that. If you think about some movies that reference other movies, are just these stupid parody films, like Meet the Spartans, and a bunch of bottom barrel cheap laughs, usually very
spoofs.
Bad films.
They don't build upon the movie.
You nailed it. The spoof genre. These type of films went into the spoof genre, and the spoof genre just went bottom barrel filmmaking. There's no other word for it. It's basically actors that can get better roles and directors that can do better films get stuck. There's barely any good spoof films left, and nothing in the line of this where it's not spoofing the film. It's just taking elements of it and turning it into something else in a clever way with a joke or a situation that's either meta or playing tribute or anything like that. So it becomes unique like that.
I do want to get the audience involved in this one. Guys, if you know any movies that take a existing movie, make it meta, and build upon it. Because I can only think of one movie. I think Hamlet 2. That was a good movie about someone who wanted to make a sequel to Hamlet, and it was really cool. And I don't think Shakespeare in Love qualifies as well. But I know there's a lot of movies that build upon, a fictional movie and take it into another direction. You know what I mean, guys? Let me know in the comments down below. Let us know. But let's move on to the audience score. So again, you already mentioned, we all know this was a very successful play. The movie, talking about the movie, the audience scores, this was a high sevens, low eights, did very well in the box office. Again, this is another movie that gave Woody Allen a lot of clout. People did see it as a love letter to Casablanca anyway, and with Woody Allen, so it's aged very well. Even though some people don't class it as a Woody Allen movie because he didn't direct it, he wrote the play, he wrote the movie. I mean, it is a Woody Allen movie, guys. Come on.
Yeah, there's no other way around it. I'm not surprised. Back in the day, this was a crowd-pleasing film. This was something when all your friends came over, you could put on, even though you would need a projector back in the day. But you know what I mean. Nowadays, spectacle took over that. Like a film that everybody can get around to, something that has shock value, big explosions. It's usually an action film. Well, back in the day, something that and funny, that was a crowd-pleasing film, and it holds up today. I think you can show this film to anybody. But what I'm really interested in, because this is not your typical crazy early Woody Allen film that's very much out there. It's more subtle. What was your quote for this film? What was the quote of the movie?
Oh, man. Guys, if you've been following the retrospective, you know I picked my quote of the movie. I'm not going to do this very often. This time, I'm not going to repeat the quote of the movie. Hopefully, we don't get copyright strike for this or anything like that. And we do apologize. We don't want to insert clips unless we have to. But guys, this time, I'm not even going to repeat the quote. Because it's not a quote. It's an exchange between Woody Allen and Diane Keaton. It's 40 seconds. Guys, just listen to this because it's very memorable. And I think you'll know why when you hear this.
Hey, did you read in the papers another open woman was raped?
Do they know who did it?
No, they haven't a clue. He must be very clever.
Yeah, you gotta have something on the ball to rape so many women and get away with it.
You know, I think if anybody ever tried to rape me, I'd just pretend to go along with it until the middle and then just grab hold of the nearest heavy object and let him have it. That is, unless, of course, I was enjoying it.
They say it's the secret desire of every woman.
I guess that depends on who's doing the raping.
Well, why dwell on morbid subjects? Odds are you'll never get raped.
No, not with my luck.
Damn. You had to pick that one, right? the one scene that sticks out like a sore thumb.
I mean, it really does. I mean, look, I guess it's played for humor. There's no doubt. You can't take this seriously. And Diane Keaton says it in a very polite, just blasé way, but it's fucking crazy. I don't know what to say.
It's very awkward. You feel awkward, and I don't get awkward watching movies often.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been watching horror movies and slasher films from a very young age, and I can brush that off. Or some weird experimental films, art films, even some disgusting ass movies. But that right there, just because they aim it to be black humor, so they play it down like it's an everyday conversation. But when you make it so real, it reflects real life, and you're like, damn, you really shouldn't say things like that to a woman. Like bringing up the topic of rape, especially like with some of the later, how should I say, scandals that happened to Woody Allen. I mean, this just feels wrong. The whole joke just feels. It feels like something the studio should have come in with an editor and said, "Take that shit out right now." Take your shit out. Edit in Bogart playing the guitar or something. I don't care. Whatever randomness.
My question is, was this in the play or was this a movie rewrite in the movie, only for the movie? I don't. It's a 40-second exchange. It's very notable, and again, guys, my quote of the movie isn't always going to be what I love, but it's always going to be something that just resonates. And the movie is a certain tone. It's very lighthearted. It's very fun and all that stuff. But again, because they play it deadpan, I don't know, man. It's out there. But
yeah.
Woody Allen, you know, I tip my hat off to you because I don't know, man. Just thinking back, I don't know if there's dark movies. There's a murder. There's going to be a lot of movies that are very dark moving forward. But I just want to say, this exchange is up there. It's one of the darkest exchanges in Woody Allen's career, in my opinion. I don't know.
I think the problem is that it doesn't have a good payoff because it just goes from an awkward position to just a bunch of really, really bad points. Like when they go up to the topic of, well, it just depends on who the rapist is, and then you're like suggesting that, you know, if the rapist is XYZ or handsome enough or, you know, I guess has the right technique, it's not that bad. And then considering up until this day, I mean, 40 years later, people are still getting off of rape charges because they're of a certain skin color, or they're like a college student, or they're in the swimming team, or their dad's rich. and the excuse is always it was just 2 minutes of pleasure, just one night, a simple mistake, a drunk adventure, and everybody always downplaying, you know, the emotional trauma that comes with this shit that ruins people's lives. I mean, I don't want to get too serious, but it's just like, you're really digging yourself very, very deep for a joke that doesn't even really have a payoff besides whatever. Even Woody Allen's character actually says, oh, enough of this, you know, enough of dark subject matters. I'm like, you started it.
And then she says, if only I'd be so lucky at the very end to get raped.
And it's not even like, you know, you're trying to paint a picture like, okay, these two characters, because they always talk about the medication they take and how, you know, neurotic they are or depressed. Like, oh, they're leveling. Their dark sense of humors are, you know, mixing together. So it's like character bonding. But not even that. It's just like, I just don't know what to say. On one hand, for a writer to be bold enough to put anything in there, great. I applaud that. Yeah. But if you're going to do it better, please. You know.
Yeah, it missed the mark. I can see what they were trying to do, but maybe it should have been in a different film, or the delivery was wrong. But again, I think we can both agree, as a joke, it kind of fails.
Yeah. It's just, it makes you feel awkward, and it's dark humor, but not very funny dark humor. It's just it's all right. It's an all right joke that just makes you feel really uncomfortable for not a whole lot of payoff.
So on that note, guys, let's wrap
on that happy note, you know, I hope you get lucky enough to get raped right after this podcast, you know. If you're feeling lucky today.
Yeah, that's a joke, guys, if you don't know, and that's a bad one. So, guys.
I heard it's everybody's secret fantasy.
You keep going, Simon. Leave us your very inappropriate jokes. You know, actually, tweet Simon at Simon_Simeon at Simeon_Vad. It's on the screen. Tweet him your most inappropriate jokes, because obviously he's got a taste for that shit, you know.
I don't think I'm gonna have cell phone service, because I pretty much dig myself all the way to China by now. So.
Whatever, man. But guys, thank you for checking us out. Thanks for the retrospective, and thank you for the feedback. We're gonna speak about the feedback in the next review, because this one's gone on nearly 45 minutes or so. Thanks for watching, guys. Again, leave us your thoughts on this movie, on our discussion, on the retrospective. We want to hear it. I want to say thanks for checking us out. Simon, I want to thank you for joining me on this one and giving me your perspective as usual.
Nice one, man. Yeah, this was a good one to watch, and I'm looking forward to checking out the next movie next week.
Oh, next one's a special one. It's a little anthology piece, or something different. Woody Allen's always mixing it up, and it was done in the same year. So anyway, guys, you can see, if you're on YouTube, you can see the annotations that YouTube are putting on the screen, because they know what you want from Planet Tyro. Just to let you guys know, we don't only do Woody Allen on this channel. We do all this other stuff for media, television shows, animation, comic books. Check it out, guys. But if not, check us out on the next Woody Allen discussion. And until then, we'll see you later.
See you later.